Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to cover the opportunity object in Salesforce. And if you've been a sales rep at any organization before that's used Salesforce, opportunities should feel like second nature to you. But if you haven't or you need a refresher, an opportunity is essentially just a representation of a sales cycle. So for every single deal that you're talking to a customer about, there should be an opportunity in Salesforce that reflects that same sales motion that you're going through. Um, and one important thing that I do want to point out that isn't necessarily unique to Fetch, but isn't always the case from company to company, is for every one community or property that we're negotiating or having a deal around, we need an opportunity for each one. So there's a one-to-one relationship between opportunities and the properties that we're negotiating on or thinking about implementing fetch at. So even if you're talking to one sole contact at a company and you're talking about five unique properties, communities, then you're going to have five opportunities, not just one. So I wanted to make that clear up front because that's not always the case from company to companies. Sometimes you can have multiple SKUs or multiple products enclosed in one opportunity. That is not how we operate here. So um, I'm going to show you how to create an opportunity. There's a couple different ways you can create an opportunity, but I'm going to create a test example here for you. So, um, well, first off, I'll start off at how you can do this. As always, at the top of your Salesforce screen, you have your home banner. Over here on the left, you have this drop down option where you can scroll and click between different objects. So if you click on opportunities, it's going to bring you to like the opportunities page. And by default, as always, Salesforce will bring up your most recently viewed opportunities. So if it's your first day in the system, you're new to Fetch, you may have nothing that you've recently viewed. So if so, you can look at all opportunities or ones that are closing this month, next month. We will have pipelines for every single market as well as rep. So just wanted to make that clear that if it's your first day and you're going through here and nothing pops up for you, that's totally normal. So if you do need to ever create an opportunity, one of the ways that we can do this is just by going to the opportunities page, and over in the far right, you'll see a new button. So we'll click new. From here, we'll then name everything. So I'm just going to call this a test and ask people to ignore this as it'll come through the system. We'll choose the market. So you should know what market that the deal is in. So for example, I'm going to put Atlanta here. And then if you know the warehouse that it's going to be serviced out of, that's always great to include up front. I know we haven't covered per se warehouses and how you can check those things out and use Salesforce Maps. But I'm just going to go through this demo environment, assuming that you know some of that information. And then we'll cover it. We will have other videos and you'll have your onboarding week to get up to speed there. So we'll put the name, we'll put the market, the warehouse, the lead source as well. So for example, if this was a reference that came in for you, you'll choose reference. There's really going to be three common ones that you'll get. So reference, obviously that's going to be someone who's been referred to you. Sales reach out, so that's going to be you just doing cold outreach, whether it's email cadences or phone calls, whatever the case is, that's sales reach out. And the other one's going to be website. So inbound leads that we get most of the time is going to be via the website. So I'm just going to do sales reach out here. I will touch on these two buttons really quick at the bottom. What a takeover is whenever we have a community that's live with Fetch, it's quite frequent that a new owner might buy the asset or a new management company is contracted to manage the asset. So say it was Lincoln and now the owner decide, hey, we really don't like working with Lincoln. We're going to work with Graystar. In that instance, we would need a new contract um, with the new management group. However, it's not a net new deal. It's what we consider a takeover. And so we do want to track those in Salesforce to make sure like the deal's going well, it's progressing through, we have the contract in the system. But we ask that you check this box on a takeover. It's very important because it'll let certain processes fire, but it'll keep certain processes from occurring that we don't want to occur when it's a takeover. So that's a takeover. And then renewal. All of our, well, I'm not going to say everything, 99% plus of our deals auto renew on month 25. So you don't have to go out and get a renewal each time, but there are instances where a market might be mispriced or we have legacy deals and we have to go to the client and say, hey, I know we have an auto renew coming up at X%, but in order to continue to provide, quality service to your community, we need to right size your cost so that what they're paying matches our cost of service. Whenever we're doing that, we will check this renewal checkbox here down at the bottom. All right. The opportunity owner will always default to yourself. In this instance, I'm logged in as Jeff, so you can see it's defaulting to Jeff and I can't change that. If you're splitting a deal with someone or you're tag teaming this with another sales rep, it does give you the option to choose a co-owner here. So you can search through reps if there's a co-owner, if that's applicable. Close date, something that you always need. So this is going to be your best estimate of how far or how long do you think this deal is going to take to close. Our best practice is if you're starting from square one, like just had the discovery call, do a minimum of 90 days out to give yourself some lead time there. And then stage, I do recommend creating everything in the discovery stage and then progressing it through. Like I said, every deal that you have that you're talking to a prospect about, we want that in the system so we have that transparency and clarity. And just for labor planning as well. We are a very human capital intensive company, so we need to make sure we have great line of sight to what's coming into the system and what's coming out. One thing I haven't touched on here, whenever you're creating stuff, if there's a red asterisk by the field, that means the field is required. So it will not let you even create the opportunity or any object for that matter if any of the fields with the red asterisk are not filled out. So that's the top section for you. Next is the related community. So this is going to be the community that we're actually having an opportunity with. So this is going to be the one that you're talking to the client about. You can search for the community in here if you want. We do try our best to upload communities proactively rather than have the rep have to create one every single time. So always search the community before you go ahead and create one. So if I wanted to choose Blue Soul right here, I can choose Blue Soul. If I search and it didn't come up, so I'm just going to type in a fake name. This doesn't pop up, so I can always click this new community to create that community. But I'm just going to choose Blue Soul for demo purposes. Launch date, it is not required up front, but I would say go ahead and throw in your best guess at when you think they would potentially launch. It is going to be tied to the close date, but obviously the property will launch, aka go live, after we sign the contract. So close date is when we think that the client will sign. Launch date is when we project them to actually go live. So I'm just going to choose December 7th here. And then a couple of things that we need. account name. So this is going to be the actual account, who you're talking to, who you think is going to sign the contract. So right there, you have the account name, and then you have three other lookup fields over here on the right where you can put in an account. So you can see the account name is required and management group is required. So 9 times out of 10, the account and the management group are the same person. However, that's not always the case. Sometimes we do talk to owners, and owners will do the whole deal process, sign us up, sign their community up for it, and then tell their manager, hey, we like Fetch. We're working with Fetch at all of our communities. We signed the contract. This is when we want to go live. So if there was an example, I'm just going to choose LiveCore as an owner here. There may be an option where the account name is actually LiveCore because they're the ones that are going to sign the contract. So that's what the account lookup is for, is really a representation of between the management group and the ownership group, who's our main point of contact and who do we see signing the contract itself. The developer is also an option. So if you know who the developer is, you can fill them in. That being said, it's very rare that we know that, especially the number of stabilized buildings that have been built between the 70s, even prior to the 70s, but up until 2015, they have been developed long time ago. We really don't care who the developer is per se. And then every contract will default to 2 years in length. We ask that you keep it that way. That is because though the client is only, quote unquote, on the hook for 1 year, they can cancel after 1 year with a 30-day notice. The pricing that we give is good for 2 years. And so that's why we want to default everything to a 2-year contract. The last thing here is going to be renewal rate. Out of the box, our renewal rate is 10%, and I will default this field to 10%. That being said, renewal rates can be negotiated, so you can always change this throughout time. And that is how you will create a opportunity. So I'll go ahead and click save here. Awesome. Now, once it gets created, it'll take you to that screen, and then you'll start to see not a bunch more information, but a lot of information spread out. So on the left-hand side here, we have everything that we just filled out. So the name, the market, warehouse, lead source, close date, etc. On the right, you'll start to see the details of that community that you linked here. So Blue Soul. So you'll want to make sure all of these look correct. Just double check everything, because if it already existed, that means it was created previously, and that could mean it was created last week. It could also mean it was created 4 years ago. So just double checking that all this information is still correct is best practices. All right. And then scrolling down on the right, we always need a contact for a deal, like a main point of contact. So you can see here, contact roles are 0. We don't have any. So you'll always want to make sure that you can add whoever the person you're talking to about this deal. Let me see if I am in here by chance. No, I'm just going to put my test contact there. And you do always need a primary contact as well. Even though it says optional here, for whatever reason, we still need it each and every time. And that primary contact it's going to be your main point of contact as the deal is going through. And then when we get ready to sign the actual contract itself, whoever is listed as the primary contact is the one who's going to receive the contract. So as the deal progresses, if you think, oh, X person is actually going to sign the contract, what you'll want to do is hit edit contact roles, and you can change up here who the actual primary person is. All right. Um, and then, so we have a contact role. If you click next to, like, if we're saying, hey, we had a meeting, we can mark this as the current stage. So you'll click that stage and then you'll mark that stage as the current stage. One thing that you will start to see, and this is new for both our new reps and our existing reps, is all of our stages now have this little logo on the right of it. It's called a spec. And this is a tool that's used to help give you guys additional information as you're in the system, as you need it, rather than having to go look at documentation every time. So as I hover over this stage, it's going to tell me a little bit about this stage. And then I can also see, okay, if I'm in this stage and I want to send a proposal, I can click this link to go watch a video. Same with discovery. So if I'm in the discovery stage, these are all of the things that I need to know when getting out of that discovery stage. Same for proposal sent, what some of our best practices are, et cetera, et cetera. So that is what an opportunity is. As you continue to work the deal, you're going to want to make sure that you're coming back and updating the opportunity. So that's going to be things such as making sure that the close date is up to date as the deal progresses. Sometimes you can get pulled in, sometimes it'll get pushed out. Making sure the stage is correctly reflected. So if you are going to send out a proposal, then once you send that proposal, we want to make sure we're updating this to proposal sent. If we start negotiating, it'll go to negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. So that you know what we track when it comes to opportunities. Once you send a client a proposal, and I'm just going to move this to proposal sent. Once a deal gets to this proposal sent stage, it enters what we call our deep pipeline. The deep pipeline just means, hey, these are all of the deals in the sales pipeline that have progressed decently far, at least the halfway point, and then we start to forecast our business using those numbers, and with that becomes kind of an extra layer of granularity that sales leadership asks you to have. So if you have a deal in the proposal sent or later stage, those are the deals you really have to make sure you're updating at least on a weekly basis. So making sure you're reaching out to the client, you're updating with any new information, you're continuing to edit the quote, which we'll talk about the quotes later on. And so, yeah, that's really, I just want to explain that once you hit the proposal send stage, that's kind of when all eyes become on the opportunity. And it is expectations that at least on a once a week basis, you come in here and you make sure your pipeline is up to date. And so I think that's all we're going to cover as it relates to the opportunity for now. I will say this is the activity feed on the opportunity. So as you email people on the opportunity, you will see activity pop up on the right-hand side here as well. Yeah. The only other thing to do on an opportunity is to create a quote, which is how we do contracts, proposals, etc. And I will cover that in a later video. So thank you for the time. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the revenue operations team. Thanks.